setting the rules and raising the bar. And I think that's what frustrates them too, is that you guys work outside of these, corporate media, I guess, parameters, and I think they're a little jealous of that. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think they're jealous of it. I think that they're uncreative. They're sort of corporate. A lot of the media they cover what other people do. There's a lot of, it's just like a noise machine, to borrow a phrase from Media Matters. Actually, they just borrow. There's no actual content production. It's all blogs and sites linking to each other. I like to call it stenography. Reporters go into press conferences with notepads and write down what politicians tell them.
Right.
That may be necessary, but it's insufficient. You have to challenge what these people say to you.
Right.
You have to be skeptical of what, I mean, you had a Politico reporter go to the Coke thing, Ken Vogel at Politico, someone who hates my guts. This guy Ken Vogel at Politico called up 36 conservatives and got one to criticize me and ran a headline that said, "Conservatives abandon O'Keefe." But in any event, he went to the Coke rally in California, and this guy Ken Vogel was there for 5 days, or whatever it was, and he wrote all these stories about all these things. And one of my friends, Christian Hartsock, with a camcorder, walks into the protest and tapes these people saying we should hang Justice Thomas because he's black. We should send him back to the cotton field. So why is it that we're getting all this stuff on tape and they're not putting it in their articles?
Well, let me ask you this: how do you choose the targets of your investigative journalism? I mean, the first one or two you might have stumbled onto, like with the phone calls, but at this point, generally speaking, how do you decide what you're going to go after next? Is it just whatever's timely, or how do you do that?
Well, just recently we investigated the New Jersey teachers' unions in New Jersey, and
fantastic.
Chris Christie gave a speech. It's on YouTube. He gave a speech raving about our video. He called it enlightening and enraging.
Awesome.
And for example, why did I choose the NJEA, the New Jersey Teachers Union? I chose it because no journalist in New Jersey is doing any investigative reporting into that organization. That's why. And it's a ratio of power to lack of journalism. So I sort of take a look at an organization. Okay, this organization is very powerful. And then I say, who's investigating? No one. So if that ratio is high enough, then I say, okay, this is an organization. Now, some people say, why are you going after the teachers' unions and Planned Parenthood and Acorn? I'll tell you what. I'll go after financial organizations. I'll go after Wall Street. I'll get to it, and I'll tell you what, when I do, they're probably going to put a head out on my head because they're very powerful. But I'll start investigating all these people. Well, I'm just getting started.
Fantastic.
So,
well, listen, I want to talk a little bit about the Mary Landrieu incident because I'm in the New Orleans area. Heidi's in D.C. I'm in New Orleans. Our producer, Sean's in Pennsylvania. So it's kind of a multi-state effort here. But being from New Orleans, living here, I just want to talk a little bit about the Mary Landrieu incident. If there are some parts you can't discuss for legal reasons or whatever, just let me know. But my understanding basically is you went to Landrieu's office to prove that they were purposely ignoring phone calls from their constituents who opposed the health care debate, whereas they were claiming they had a phone problem. And from what I might gather on it is you were going to expose the fact that, no, there wasn't a problem with the phone. They were just ignoring constituents. You can take it from there and talk about it as much as you want. Yeah.
What we did is we walked, just like the Acorn thing, we walked into the building as telephone repairmen. And, you think telephone repairman, federal building, oh, it's like bomb on an airplane. When in fact, we weren't actually there to do anything to the phones. We were there to talk about the phones. So the analogy would be, well, James was arrested for being a telephone repairman, for tampering with phones. The FBI might as well arrested me for sex trafficking girls in the Acorn videos. Like I said before, this is a ruse. I don't actually have the intent to do anything. I'm just talking and recording conversations. And that's difficult for people to put it into context. They think, oh, you're in the federal building. You must be there to wiretap. When in fact, we were there just to have a conversation and to record that conversation. And so the government eventually admitted this. They eventually said, okay, O'Keefe was not there to do anything criminal. They got me on a misdemeanor, which is a seldom used misdemeanor statute, entering federal property under false pretenses.
Oh, for the love of God.
this is really peculiar. And no one talked about this. There were no articles about it because once the government said that there was no felony, the media it was an old story and they got their hit in. But if you actually examine this statute, what they got me on, this is a Class B misdemeanor. I looked it up on Westlaw. The only history I could find where they got people, like people invading naval bases, people breaking into airport security. We walked into an office open to the public between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. We showed our driver's license when we entered the door, so there was even a question as to whether there was a false pretense when we entered the building. And we walk into the office, sit down on the couch, and ask the staffer a question. And for all of that, you saw this railroading, wiretapping, tampering. Right. I mean, it really is out of control. And the government destroyed my videos, and people can't actually see what they said. They can't even see the video for what it is. Half tragic and half comic. How they can, and the reason why they attacked me so viciously was because they view me as a threat. Now, so one more thing on this, we have produced a music video, sort of mentioning this and making fun of it, and we're going to release that after I release my next undercover investigation to sort of bring closure to that whole issue.
Well, let me ask you this: Do you ever get frustrated, James, that despite your obviously excellent work at exposing organizations like Planned Parenthood, that they still continue to be legitimized by the mainstream media and continue to receive federal funding?
No, at the end of the day, my mission is not to destroy. First of all, my mission is not to destroy organizations. You'll say, "Well, you destroyed Acorn." I didn't destroy Acorn. Democrats in Congress destroyed Acorn.
That's right.
Think about that for a second. We don't actually. Our job is not to. Our job is not to decide outcomes. Our job is to expose things for what they are. Show that a triangle has three sides, and people make their own. And I am confident, frankly. I have so much faith in the American people. I have so much faith in the abortionists, frankly. That's how much faith I have in people. That when they see the stuff, when they see the disgusting, language and behavior of what actually happens, they will agree with me because the truth is the truth.
Well, yeah, and if you give people enough rope, they're going to hang themselves. I think that for anybody to accuse you of destroying anybody or anything is just preposterous. That's a whole other rant for a whole other day. But they really need to take responsibility of the people that they're employing and the people that are running these organizations. I mean, and I wanted to ask you on a general, on a broader scale, what are your thoughts on nonprofit organizations? Do you think that there needs to be a broader investigation? I mean, what are your thoughts on nonprofits? Because I know a lot of conservatives think that we really need to pull in the reins on nonprofit organizations.
Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of front groups being used to investigate. I know that there's some Soros-funded groups. There's also groups on the right, that have similar arrangements where they, investigate government or do policy work. But I am confident. I'm a content guy. I believe, show me the videotape, as they say. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a big fan of ad hominem. Well, this organization did it or this. My priority is to expose things for what they are. Mm-hmm. And, to go back to your earlier question about, what do you think about these organizations receiving all this money? And I'm confident that if we continue to expose things, that things will sort of fall into place. I don't think we should get rid of nonprofits or attack nonprofits, because I think there's a place for them in a society to do the work. Frankly, a lot of these budding investigative journalism groups are nonprofits, and there's a place for them on the left too. I just don't like the disingenuous nature of something like Mother Jones, for example, which claims
good example.
Its mission. No, I don't like it because it's a nonprofit. I don't care where they get the money from. I don't care where you get your money from. What I care about is the fact that they say that they're all about challenging power structures when Mother Jones Magazine was cooperating with the United States government to leak my personal emails from Gmail. Where is the challenging power there? Why? Right. Why is it that an independent group that claims to be about challenging government is investigating other investigative journalists? That's just crazy if you think about it.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you ever get nervous about people recognizing you? Because I think it's amazing that you can get into these places and nobody at this point recognizes your face. I mean, certainly, if I worked someplace and you walked in, I'd be, oh, look, that's James O'Keefe. I mean, does it ever that aspect of what you do just amazes me. I mean, I don't know if this is a legitimate question, but how does that come into play? Does it ever make you nervous? You ever think, man, I got to put on a mustache or something? How does that work?
Well, a couple different things. First of all, I'm not the one going into these. I mean, the teachers' union investigation, I didn't even do it. I just directed it. I had people go in there, college students, friends of mine, citizens. You see in Lila's investigation, she's got her own people.
Gotcha.
I'm training people to do this. It's not me. We're creating an army. We're creating an army of people. And every time we release these, I get people emailing, James, I'll do it. Right now, we've got people across the country. I'm mailing cameras to them. I'm directing them. The other thing is I use accents. I use costumes. Mostly I don't use. Very rarely do I actually use the ostentatious costume you see in the B-roll. But right. I might dye my hair. I might use glasses. And then finally, the employees don't notice because most people, frankly, are not really in tune with politics. True. You and I are. But these employees don't watch Fox News. They don't read their Twitter. They're just bureaucrats who put in their time slot.
Right.
Well, you mentioned you had, you're building an army and you had folks that were, wanting to help. We have some folks in our live chat room on the show that are asking basically, what can we as conservative citizens do to help? Is there a place we can go, a website we can go to, a number we can call? How would folks that want to be part of the army and help, how can they get in touch with you? What can they do?
Well, first of all, what I'm looking for is basically two things. I'm looking for, number one, we have very little money. We are a nonprofit. We haven't gotten our tax deduction back from the IRS yet, and I don't know what's going to happen there because I'm an enemy of the state.
You might have just answered your own question.
I know, but you can make a non-tax deductible donation to our C3, and you can make that donation on our website. But you can also, if you want to get involved in terms of becoming one of these reporters or managing these video projects, we're looking for artistic,